Hello YouTubers, everybody out there. Today is the October the 20th, still in Barcelona, Catalonia. Pretty sore, but no further developments in the Catalan affairs. We'll have to wait and see until tomorrow or Monday. So I have a golden opportunity to go back to the beginning of this video blog, to its origins, where I was talking about frontiers, the absurdity of it, how out of time and out of space they are. Sometimes they are huge walls, and sometimes they're as liquid as the sea itself, just like the case of Sicilian coasts and islands, with Lampedusa, my beloved Lampedusa, being the southern outpost of southern Europe, so the gate. The chance of going back to this issue is given to me by an article which I read yesterday on NetBase, by the explicit title, "The Nationalisms Which Have Poisoned Europe." Now that nationalisms are on the rise, especially here in Catalonia where we live, and has become our daily bitter tasting bread, very hard to digest, I found it interesting to pass part of this article on, duly translated of course. And maybe because I've been and I am an immigrant myself, just like my father and my grandfather before, and my great grandfather, just like people from the south of Italy. Maybe because each of my children was born in a different country, while my wife and I were traveling and working freely without problems in Europe, and we saw this continent becoming a reality from a mere blueprint, and our views obviously got broader and broader. You see, it happens when you travel the world. You tend to lose that narrow-mindedness, very typical of a small provincial village. But I loathe and I dread any form of nationalism, which is a sort of fascism after all. Maybe because I find borders as restrictive to humanity and humiliating as cattle electrified fences. Whichever the reason, please receive these few lines from "The Nationalisms That Have Poisoned Europe." We say that is the title. So, here it goes. The whole history of Europe has had one direction: the creation of states where civil rights belonged to all citizens, as opposite to states where rights are privileges reserved for a minority, an elite based on ideology, religion, economical status, or language. The journey of Europe hasn't been easy, with religious wars in the 16th and 17th century, dynasty wars in the 18th century, Worldwide War I, II, and I would add III, the Cold War, Yugoslavian multiple genocides, and so on. Last but not least, the current situation of deep economical recession, huge unemployment figures, and the recent uprise of far-right parties. This is what the journalist says. Now, the next few lines are from Stephen Zweig. Stephen Zweig's book, Yesterday's World, written by this Jewish writer just before his death during exile, which killed him. Exile, unlike the Nazi who had him, and he just about escaped the Holocaust. And he says, careful, "In my life, I've seen all four horses of the apocalypse: revolution and starvation. I've seen inflation and deportation. I've known illness and horror, and I've seen the rise of fascist regime in Italy, in Germany, and in Russia. But the worst, most lethal disease is nationalism, which poisons the fragile flower of our European culture." Say no more. Enough said. To go on with quotes, but they really mirror my thoughts and my feeling. There's this Professor Pinker. I'm not sure this is his real surname, or just like in the Tarantino movie, he got the name that didn't quite choose. Like, all right, you'll be Mr. Pink. You'll be Dr. Pink. Can I be Dr. White? Like, anyway, Dr. Pinker says that since the 15th century, when Europe was made of about 5,000 broken up little states, we passed to 500 in the 17th century, down to 200 in the 19th century, and to a mere 30 in 1953. Do you want to know what his conclusion is? It's quite obvious. Less states, less war. Because at the end of the day, any form of nationalism is a disease which any reasonable person in his right frame of mind, embracing democracy, should fight. And this would be all for today, but since, again, maybe I'll take it personally because my daughter is a trained journalist, but at the moment it's a very difficult task, I guess, to be a journalist now our world, not just in Afghanistan or conflictive, so-called conflictive places. It is getting difficult to be a journalist, even in Europe, how very civilized this continent. And I fear that it'll be very dangerous being an independent journalist in Catalonia, because well, this is the part of the next update, I guess. So take good care, and the usual whoosh.